So what is this little camera here I have in my hand? Smaller than most compact cameras. Well, it's an APS film-based camera, and we'll have a look at this in this video and in the series that I'm starting here. But the thing about these cameras are they're small, they're easy to handle, but they're difficult today, so is it even worth looking at them and using them? Well, I think yes, but let's have a look at it. The reason I got to use this camera is that I got an offer on a big box of cameras. These are some of them, but there are more. And these cameras are all APS cameras, not APS C digital cameras. They are APS based, film based cameras, all of them, but very small, many of them small compact cameras. And this one has a particular value for me because one of the reasons I thought this could be interesting was because I looked at some images that my daughter had taken quite a number of years ago. I think it was in 2003 or 5. Yeah, she was 13, 2005. And I came to look at some of the images from the scan I got then from the lab. They were very bad. But then I found the cartridge, and I put them into my scanner, and suddenly there was really good images from this camera. It was one equal to this one, not this one, but it was the same camera. And I found that these images look quite nice, so why not try to use these cameras? So I bought this whole box of it and just to try and see what's in them. Some of them contains film that are partially exposed, some of them don't, but there's a lot of different cameras here, and I wanted to test some of them out. But the problem was that can you actually develop them these days? I have done it before. I have done it with film that I have exposed in this camera, but it was not the right way. But I will show you how it can be done at least. But I will explore if it's possible to, as it was when you used the labs, to expose this film, get it developed and get it back into the cartridge, so you can scan it in a scanner that can take the cartridges. That means that you actually have the film, the exposed and developed film, inside the cartridge, and you will be able to scan it from there. That would be nice to have. So I will explore that in this series. But first of all, let's have a look at some of the images that my daughter shot on Iceland, where I actually bought this camera, or not this, but one equal to this one, the same model, and gave it to her, and gave her 3 films with each 25 exposures to take on her trip with the scouts that were going to Iceland. So now that we've looked to the images that my daughter took, let's talk a little more about the cameras. They're small, some of them, compact cameras like the one my daughter used, but this is another Canon Ixus. This is also Canon Ixus, but even smaller than the one my daughter used. And it is alive. The lens came out, and I have shot images on this one. And the funny thing about this is that you can respool the film, so you can actually change film mid-roll. That's something you can't do on a 35mm camera. But the images are smaller, so let's have a comparison of the size up here. So you can see that they are actually a bit smaller, and the APS size or APS film size actually gave rise to the size of APS C based cameras. They actually used almost the same size. But let's also compare to the once popular half frame images, which were half the size of a full frame. Actually, APS film is larger here, and also notice that the aspect ratio is 16:9, so it's much like our film size today. The camera takes images in 3 different formats. There's a sort of a compact size, and there's a high definition size, which is the largest part of the film, and then there's a panoramic mode. And you might know from my YouTube channel here that I love panoramas. This panoramic mode is not as wide as I would like it, but it's quite nice. Actually, the full film is exposed when you take a panorama, but it is recorded magnetically into the film or to the cartridge that you actually have shot this image in panoramic mode. And back in the day, where the labs developed this film, they would then print it out in a panoramic form. That is not possible today, I think, but we'll explore that in this series. But talking about serious, there is also some more serious cameras, like this SLR, which is also an APS-based camera, but with exchangeable lenses and all the good things that an SLR can do. And Nikon also made some very much like this one, also with exchangeable lenses. And both of these two take the normal lenses from their systems. So this take Nikon's F-mount lenses, and the Canon here takes Canon's EF mount lenses. There's also another model that is also an SLR, and that is Minolta Vectis. But this one doesn't take the normal mounts, the normal lenses from Minolta's SLR cameras of the day. They have used another mount here, so they have a special Vectis mount. So only few lenses were made for this camera. So that's a bit about the cameras. Let's have a look at the cartridges. So here is the cartridge that contains the images, and this is actually a 40 exposure cartridge. Most are 25, but this contains a bit more. And here on the end you have some markings. You have one up here, which means if the white mark is here, it is unexposed film. If it's at the 2 over here, it's partially exposed film. And you can actually extract the film from many cameras and use it in another camera, or at a later point in the same camera. So it's very versatile. And the film is spooled into the cassette, into the cartridge, by the camera itself, so you don't have to do anything. When you expose the last frame on the film, the camera automatically rewinds. As you shoot again here. Changing the canister is very easy. In many 35mm cameras you can do it manually, but if it's an automatic camera, it usually takes the film into the spool or into the cartridge, and then you can't get it out again. So that's a bit annoying. Here it's the white point is at 3, and that means that this film is completely exposed. This was one that I found in one of the cameras that I have, and I don't know what's on the film, so I don't care. It's not my pictures. I don't want to develop any strangers' images and maybe yeah, have some photos I shouldn't have seen. If it's developed and put back into the canister by a lab, the white mark will be up here at the last point, at the 4 mark, sorry. But there's also one last thing, that is up here you have sort of a tab that can be pressed in, and if that one is pressed in, it will tell the scanner that this film is ready to be scanned, because it's fully processed and it's ready to be scanned. But let's have a look at how we can get this out of the canister, because that is something that requires a little tool. So now for opening the canister, we'll have to use some tools here. First of all, we open the gate up here, and I'll have to switch this one to a broader one, which can go into the end of the canister, and then I can do like this, and now the film pops out. So you see, this film is not as wide as 35mm film, it's only 24mm wide. So how about developing this? Of course you have to do this in the dark, but this doesn't fit in a normal spool. But I have got this tank here where I have a spool that is very much more flexible than the normal spools. As you can see, there are many indents here, and this one is right now set at 24mm, so you see this one fits directly into it. And I can then, of course, in the dark, as I say, spool this film into this development spool and do the development in the tank, so I don't need to be in the dark. This is quite a normal tank. I don't know what the brand of it is. I'll put it in the description if it says something here. But this tank is very good because it has these many indents, so you can actually use everything from 120 film, 35mm, APS, and even 16mm film from small 110 cameras. But we're interested in this one, and I can do this here, develop the film, and the problem is then that how do we scan it afterwards? And that's something for the next in this series of videos. So I hope you liked this small first look at APS film and the small cameras. And to prove my point, a bigger, more versatile camera like this Canon EOS EX7, which takes bigger lenses from the EF system, and the same goes for the Nikon that I showed you. Also takes great Nikon F lenses. So you can choose between very different models, and they all take this small cartridge. This one with that you saw me open with 40 exposures, and the smaller ones with 25 exposures. They all take these cartridges, and it's very easy. This camera can pull it out. This one also can pull it out and reuse it at a later point, or if you want to change sensitivity, or you can get black and white, so you can change between color and black and white also in these cameras. But this was the first in this series, and we'll have a look at how to develop and scan the film afterwards, the so-called the manual way, I would call it. But I would like to, in a later episode, explore if we can get the developed film back into the canister, into the cartridge, and scan it from there, because I have a scanner that can do this job directly from the canister or the cartridge. So that would be very nice to see. But yeah, follow me, subscribe to my channel if you want to see the rest of the series, and please also hit the like button on this video. Thank you very much, and bye for now.